Welcome to Perspective and Practice. I'm your host, Rachel Saathoff, and today we have with us Vice President of Sales at Engage PEO, Heather Dunkerly. How are you, Heather?
I'm fantastic. How about you, Rachel?
Awesome. I'm great. So, Heather, how would you describe the work that you're currently doing?
I have the pleasure of helping small and mid-sized businesses gain economies of scale by partnering to provide HR outsourcing solutions. So the business gets to focus on their growth and what they do best while we handle the HR administration, including payroll, taxes, benefits administration, compliance.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So, what early personal and professional experience kind of foreshadowed maybe what you're doing or where you currently are today?
I love small businesses. And so my grandmother was an entrepreneur. And so as a little girl, I got to watch her work in her shop, watch her business savvy. And so I really love that. And I think that's where I gained my passion for helping small businesses succeed. My dad was a director of HR for Visa. So I got to watch him navigate complex problems, some of which we still in the people HR world deal with today. So I think that's kind of where personally that was the foreshadowing. But in every role I've had in my career, people have been at the forefront. That was the common thread. I really love helping people succeed and develop, and love helping small businesses grow as well.
That's awesome. That's awesome. It's so interesting how, for some people, your childhood, just kind of watching other people, the the life that they like give you, like the energy and life that they put in you can, really impact who you become and like the careers you choose. Because I know for myself, my dad used to tell me when I was a young kid, "Oh, Rachel, you're going to be an entrepreneur."
Mm.
Way before I even knew what it meant to be an entrepreneur. But, he only said that to one of his children. He didn't say it to the other one. And like it really, I think, goes into like skill sets and like superhero powers and kind of what you're good at, because sometimes those can be foreshadowing into certain people that maybe excel differently as an entrepreneur than other people. So I'm curious,
Certainly.
what are your superpowers? What are you good at?
I think my best quality is that I'm a connector. I love connecting people. And in order to be a connector, you really have to actively listen and really ask the deeper and the more thought-provoking question. Because sometimes what people say as the first response isn't the whole story. And so really, not just listening to the whole story, but connections are built on stories as well. So I really believe that I call myself the chief question officer, and I really just I love that learning and growing, but learning what helps others and what helps them to grow and succeed and develop.
Yeah, yeah, no. I am such a big believer that to be a successful leader, you have to be good at listening, like active listening, and asking really good questions. I remember when I was in grad school, there was this book called Change Your Questions, Change Your Life. And it was all about just asking different types of questions and how that can elicit a different response from the people that you're talking about. Do you have any experiences or where you can share about just how good questioning has helped you as a leader?
Yes, absolutely. One of the things that I've stopped asking is why. Because why sometimes puts people on the defensive. So to reframe that instead of like, why did you choose that? What led you to that decision or what made you go in that direction? And it changes the trajectory and it elicits um, a different and deeper response. You get to peel the layers of the onion, so to speak, and get to the reasoning behind. And it puts people at ease when you use a different question than why, because why really does sometimes put us on the defensive.
Absolutely, absolutely. I say a lot like, tell me more, share more with me. I'm curious. I don't understand. Um, and I feel like that can really elicit more information, and then from there, being able to really support people and organizations. So
Certainly.
you help small business owners in 37 different states and Puerto Rico. Is that correct?
Actually now all 50 states, and so we're licensed in all 50 states, and our HR consultants who are employment law attorneys have expertise in each of the 50 states, even the more complex ones. So
Wow. So, what are a few things that you find small business owners often get wrong about, either HR or growing their companies or just kind of misconceptions?
there's so many. One of the things from a growing your business side, I think a lot of businesses think that they need to be everything to everyone, and not every sale or every customer is really ideal. Sometimes you can sell something and it be, you're trying to almost gyrate to be something for somebody, and it takes you away from your business model. So really, I think it's very important as a business owner to understand your target market and do that market research, and don't get bogged down trying to be something that doesn't align with your business model. um, Also, in line with that, I think sometimes business owners wear many hats and think that they have to do it alone in order to save money. Like rather than pay to outsource or delegate, they think that they have to own everything. And so if there's something that isn't your expertise or takes you away from focusing your business, delegate it or outsource it, especially because many of the business owners that I work with are in multiple states. And so it's impossible to know compliance in all of the states. And so if you have a multi state workforce, sometimes it's better to outsource to experts so that they have the eye on what's going on with the ever changing regulations. And that gives you peace of mind and time and energy to focus on your business. I think one of the last things that sometimes I see business owners get wrong is not either following their business plan or not having a solid business plan. You need to have that to follow your budget. You need to track everything and really prioritizing long-term strategy over maybe that short-term gain, and to have a contingency plan as well. If nothing, the past couple years have shown us you have to kind of prepare for the unexpected. And so to have a plan in place, especially a contingency plan.
Absolutely, absolutely. Oh my gosh, you shared so much stuff. As you were talking about the HR stuff, I was recently talking to a VP of HR, and she was saying, if anybody any sole like one person claims that they're an expert in all of HR, run away. Like,
Absolutely.
run away. Like, it is such a broad
Oh,
story. It's insane.
there's
That,
so many facets to HR. There
yes,
really are. And everybody has an expertise. Like, so my background was in recruiting and learning and development. So if you talk to me about workers' comp and somebody's mod or compliance when it comes to ACA or benefits, or even some payroll taxes, my eyes glaze over because it's beyond my expertise. And so that's where sometimes outsourcing to experts, you can get an expert in each facet of HR, but no one is an expert in every. We need to collaborate and rely on each other, even internally in my organization, to make sure that our clients are well informed and have that peace of mind for compliance.
absolutely, absolutely. Like us too. Like in training and development, like that's what we do. We're doing a lot of curriculum development, a lot of facilitation, things like that. But people come to us with really specific things. And like we're like, we know how to write a really great curriculum. curriculum, but we don't know all the facets of everything that you need. And so that's really where kind of what you're talking about with bringing in those subject matter experts, those SMEs, to help guide the process of like, where are we going with this? And what are the things that need to be included? And who are the people that need to be included to develop these things is such a crucial thing because you can't just write a curriculum about anything for everyone. Like you have to
Absolutely. You have to
bring,
tailor it. And in order to do that, you have to have that knowledge and those experts.
yes. Sometimes I'm like, I have no idea what you do. Like we will work with some people to help you, but I have no idea. So that's awesome. That's awesome. So what advice would you give small owners about how to decide whether because business gets hard. So
Yes.
and we kind of like what you were saying, like some like with the current state of everything that has happened in the last, 4 to 5 years with COVID, with, new administrations, with, just climate change or whatever you want to call it. What advice would you give a small business owner about how to decide whether or how they should pivot their organization or even just say like I'm done. Like I'm quitting. Like this isn't working. And I know, unfortunately, like in this state of a climate of where we are today, like I know DEI businesses that are like, we're closing the doors, like at least for the next 4 years. So like how would you like advise somebody?
It's such a tough question to know when to say when. And so I almost think you need to ask yourself, have I done all that I could? Have I followed that business plan? Have I followed my financial plan? Um, could I do more? Could I pivot? I was actually at a networking event, and I honestly think like the best advice that I could give to a small business owner is network and develop those centers of influence because they can play such a pivotal role in expanding business opportunities that you might not have thought of yourself. And they can make valuable connections in the market to market your brand and even promote your services. So I was at a networking event with a bunch of business to business, business development owners, small businesses. And it was really interesting to hear one CPA giving another one of the guests who works in an industry that's kind of a little bit seasonal, kind of focuses on bad weather. And his advice was, have you thought about buying or aligning with a different plumber, a different HVAC, things that would be in alignment, not competing businesses, but that could refer businesses. And it was really key for this business because they've had a tough time because they deal with waterproofing and we just haven't had a lot of rain in the past couple of years, and so it's leaner times. And it was just a light bulb moment for them to have some different centers of influence. So I think to go back to your question is don't live with regret. If there's something more that you could have done, try it. Try new things. We learn more from failing than we do when it's right the very first time. So don't leave anything on the table. However, I mean, obviously, if it's a financially driven decision, those are kind of hard stops. But if there's more that you could do to get your name, to get your brand out and align with other centers of influence to refer to you. Like, for example, in my business, I work with different brokers, so insurance brokers, workers, comp PNC brokers, and they refer their businesses to me because they know that they can trust me and that I will, take care of their clients and give them peace of mind with HR, and that it enhances and gives them a different vertical with their business as well. So maybe see if you can pivot and find something like that. Um, you never know what is the next thing that could be the trajectory that sends your business into the stratosphere. So don't leave anything on the table. If there's something more that you could have done, do that because you don't want to live with regret. You want to be able to look at yourself in the mirror. If you do need to close shop and go, I did everything I could have done, and this just wasn't for me. But I gave it my all.
Yeah, we were talking in another interview recently with a woman, and she was just talking about, sometimes you just have to fill the cracks, the areas where the not glamorous jobs, the things that other people don't want to do. And she's built her whole business on filling the cracks. And she's in training and development too, just like me. um Different kind of, she's more on the technical side, but like that's been her whole business, is looking at industries and filling the cracks and helping entire like industries continue to grow through her talents and services, and then just making small little pivots. And I think just, even from my personal experience, is even if you have to make a pivot, it might not be forever, but it is for right now. And even during the pandemic for myself, I said my dad's an entrepreneur. Nobody was buying, nobody was doing anything at the start of the pandemic. And I was like out of business. And I looked at him and I was like, should I go get a job? And he gave the greatest advice. He was just like, it's not time yet. Like, figure it out. And and then, really just going back to the business model and saying, what would people buy right now? And so instead of doing adult leadership services, we went to youth leadership services that were outside where it was safe. And so, we did that for a while. And then when the pandemic ended, we shifted back into adults. We do still do youth stuff, but we also can do adult stuff. So, it just kind of goes back to like looking at those pivots and, telling yourself it's not forever, it's just for now. And some of our business model has changed, and that's okay. And it's probably for the better.
And what brilliant advice as well, and what a brilliant way to pivot. So your business evolved, you learned something, and then you learned that you could keep it as a part of your business model, and that it worked, and it enhanced your overall strategy. So that's a win-win right there.
Yeah, absolutely. And like small businesses, find that person that will tell you that. Like, it's not forever, it's just right now. Keep going.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So, how might you advise professionals who maybe have an entrepreneurial spirit but want to stay employees of their current company? In other words, like, is it really possible to be an entrepreneur?
It's absolutely possible. And so many people, you have that drive, work that side hustle, grow that business, and then you'll know when it's the right time to make a move, and maybe it replaces your income, and you have enough saved away so that you can be that true entrepreneur, and leave a job, but work that side hustle and grow it. It's really all about the drive, the resilience, adaptability, and being really passionate about your solution. I mean, you have to believe in yourself, and that's, I think, why it's so possible to be an entrepreneur in today's day and age. I mean, small business drives the economy. It's a huge part of the economy, and so we need people who have these brilliant ideas to bring to the public, whether it's B2B, B2C. We need that. It drives the economy.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So, finish the sentence. You know you were born to be an entrepreneur when?
Oh gosh, you have a creative vision and are so passionate and relentless, to bring that to fruition. You're adaptable, you're resilient, but you believe that your solution or your service is going to make a difference in the lives of others.
Yes, passion is so crucial to the success of small business because it's hard. Small business is hard. Until you get to a certain size, it's hard. And people, personally, I think people glamorize it And I always joke, I wouldn't wish entrepreneurship onto anyone because I'm like, it's hard. It takes a certain type of like insane person to do it, but you have to really love it. And when you really love it, that's when you like work through the hard times. That's when you get creative and think about like, how can I pivot? How can I do these things? So I absolutely agree with what you're saying.
It's a grind. I mean, it's not for everybody, but for those that are willing to put in the work, wow, the results can be incredible. So
Yeah. How would you describe your leadership style to somebody who is meeting you for the first time?
I would say it's hard to pinpoint just one. So I think I have a little bit of a hybrid leadership style. When I was studying for my master's, we took a test about our leadership style, and mine came out transformational. I absolutely agree with that because that's leading through change. You're inspiring action. You're creating a shared vision. And I know when I had to lead a team through a dramatic change, that's when I really had to lean on transformational leadership. I also really believe in empathy. I think that empathy and empathetic leadership is so important. It's crucial to have a genuine care for others. And I really make it my mission to understand and relate to others' point of view. That's really helped me become a continuous learner is understanding and putting yourself in someone else's shoes. Um, and then another leadership style that I think, especially when I do things in the community, that I lean into is servant leadership. It's really serving first and helping others develop, and then we all succeed. So I think it's hard to just say one. I think you have to flex and adapt your leadership style to the situation as well, and that is really what helps you succeed and really be able to achieve the outcome that you want to achieve.
Yeah, absolutely. I have very similar leadership styles to you, like transformational and servant leader for sure, big picture thinker, like, and leading through like the mission and the picture of where we want to go and, influencing the team that way. But I'm also a big believer in servant leadership. And when you give first without expectation, it comes back. Whether
It's
you
so
want it
true.
to,
Yes.
it will come back. And I think that's the big thing is that people forget is that people are always watching, whether you realize they're watching or not. And I had a kind of experience of that recently where I was in a senior care facility and I saw one of their kitchen staff like trying to bring the cart in, but it was like getting stuck on the door. And so like I just ran over there, helped her in, opened the door down the way. And I didn't think anybody was watching, right? And then a few days later, when I was networking with somebody, they said, I saw what you did, Rachel. And I was like, oh no, what did I do? And she was like, just the door thing. But it's really, leadership is really, I'm a big believer that leadership is really in the details. It's in the things that you don't even realize that you're doing, in the small things of how you're serving and helping others on a daily basis. And when you do that and you get out in the community and you're supporting people, that's when the people come back to you and
It's
support you.
absolutely so true. It's so true. And the best leaders are ones who are willing to step in. And it's not, this is my role. It's, I'm willing to unclog the toilet or those things that it's like, wow, you really are one of those make it happen kind of people. And let me support the team in any way possible.
Yes. The highest leader has to be able to do the lowest jobs.
Absolutely. Well
And
said. Much better than me.
yeah, I always call that like, I don't know, the Costco effect, because
Mhm.
everybody at Costco has to start on the floor in the warehouse and then they move their way up within the organization. And I've always like admired that philosophy that Costco has.
It's important, I think, to understand every role. I mean, you don't have to be a subject matter expert to go back to what we were talking about before, but you have to kind of understand every role and how it all fits together. And that way, then you can really know how to lead best. So.
So how did you like develop your leadership style? Were there influences in your life that have kind of led to this style of leadership for you?
I think that my leadership style has developed through a lot of trial and error. Again, we learn more from what doesn't work, and self-reflection. I'm one of those that builds in time um, into my calendar to whether it's focus or self-reflection time. And so I'll kick back and think of things that, in conversations that I could have had. What questions could I have asked? What could I have learned more? How could I show up better? I think it also took seeking feedback, continuous feedback loops, and really listening to others as they shared without judgment, so that I could grow. I mean, I'm asking for them to share, they're having a courageous conversation with me. And if they had the courage to have that conversation, I needed to take that coaching and find something in their feedback where I could improve and show up better. Um, I work with mentors, and I think that's really important. And I think you need to also, in terms of developing your leadership style, I think you need to set goals to really build trust and foster that positive team culture so that people feel comfortable, you know, saying to you, Heather, what did you mean by that? Or so that again, you can learn. And again, as much as we do right, and that's wonderful, we learn more from areas where we could have shown up better or asked a different question or, you know, could I have taken on a different, aspect of the role, and support, you know, in someone else's development. So really it's a lot of self-reflection and asking for feedback.
Yes. And I think it's so crucial that if you're going to ask people to be authentic with you and share honestly, you need to be willing for the to receive the good, bad, and the indifferent, and you need to be prepared on how you're going to respond to that. And know that you don't need to respond with an answer right away.
Oh.
Sometimes it's just listening, taking it in, and then sitting with it, and then thinking about what am I going to do with this newfound information.
It's so important to absorb the information before you think about how you're going to respond and
Yes.
not be defensive. Find that nugget. There's going to be some truth, some nugget that you can take and use for your personal growth in
Yes.
that. Find what it is.
Don't justify. Don't
Right.
justify your bad behavior. Like,
Right.
I'm not even bad behavior. Just don't justify it. Like, because, people don't want that. Like, sit, take it in, and don't be reactive because if you're reactive, they won't do it again.
It's so true. And you just made me think of something else you know, sometimes we take feedback personally and it is personal. But you know, I'm not perfect. And that's one of the things that I've had to communicate to my team is, I'm not perfect. I really want you to share with me in moments where I could change, do something differently. And so just, be authentically yourself. It's not about perfection. It's really about being persistent in your growth and just that continuous learning.
Definitely. I think that, like, especially people that are in sales and leadership, kind of like you, really need to sit down and like have those authentic conversations because sales is one of those roles where you're continuously interacting with a lot of new and different people. And so you have to really be adaptive in your style and engagement. Whereas it's, I don't know, not easier, but different when you're only working with like a small team of 3 to 5 and you know each other, it's different when you're, continuously engaging with 30 to 50 different people or
Yes.
more, every month, every week, every, whatever. So when you like even just like thinking about like how would you redefine sales to somebody who thinks that sales is about persuading someone out of money? Or what do people tend to get wrong when they think about sales?
Yeah, sales has such a bad rap, truly. And sales is not a transaction. And people mistakenly think that sales is a transaction. To me, sales is finding how I can bring value to someone or something. So I look at sales as focusing on the other person's outcome because the best opportunities come from understanding and having a genuine interest in what their needs are, their goals are, the challenges that they're experiencing, where they want to grow, or what success looks like for them. Um, I never look at sales as what's in it for me. I look at it as what's in it for the other person, because I give options, I give recommendations, I give advice, and ultimately they make the decision. So I just need to build the best business case that I can. And I also recognize we're not for everybody. So and if that's the case, I want to be authentic and share that as well. But it's really sales is about how you can bring value to someone else through your goods and services.
Yeah. I love that because as you were explaining that to me, I'm just thinking a lot about leadership and how leadership is so much about sales. Like when you're leading people on your team, you're selling to them essentially. Like even though you're not selling a specific product, you're selling like, how can I help support you? What do you need to be successful? And if being at our company isn't what's going to help you be successful, that's okay if you don't like our product. It's okay. I'm not going to take it personally. You're not going to take it personally. Sometimes we have to split ways and we can agree upon that and that's okay. But as you were just redefining it, it really made me think about how so much of leadership skills and sales skills are very similar and that sales doesn't have to be the creepy car salesman.
It shouldn't be, for sure. Everyone sells. So we just don't think that we do. Um, so
Yes. So at Break the Norm, we embrace like the Peter Block's definition of consulting, where consulting means you try to challenge a person's process or organization, but you don't have control over whether that person's process or organization follows your recommendation. So with that definition in mind, how have you been able to help so many different small businesses over the years?
I think that the way I've been able to make a difference for so many different organizations is really focusing on building productive client relationships, really digging in with the questioning because, often when a client comes to me, um, what they say may be the first reason that they're coming to me. Usually there's more to it. So really digging in and asking the thought-provoking questions, going beyond the surface level. And so that really is building trust to be a trusted advisor so that I can make the right suggestions or offer the different recommendations and options, so that they can make the right decisions. Because again, I'm not in control of the decision. The things that I'm in control of are how I present my solution and working on learning as much as possible to create that compelling business case when there is alignment. And that's the other thing is if there isn't alignment, being candid about that, and sharing that there might be an alternative that would better meet their needs, and that just again that builds trust as well. And so they might not. go with our solution in that moment. But then maybe if there's growth or a change, I can't tell you how many times the company has come back to me and said, hey, we're in a different place now, and I think there might be more alignment. It's just really being building that trusted advisor relationship is I think so key. Um, you know, every organization wants to create a referable experience. And I think that that's, what I try to do with every conversation that I have.
Yeah. Just building that bond and rapport, that's where it starts with. Or I believe, just building that bond and rapport, that relationship, that consistency, even just going back to, what you were saying earlier about networking.
Yeah,
Those that show up go up. Those
that
that
is
to
it.
build relationships on a consistent basis, that's what leadership's about. Showing
It's
up for,
absolutely true.
yeah.
Absolutely. And you have to show up. And in those moments, you never know who you're going to meet. You never, and sometimes I'll go to a networking event with I want to meet this person because I saw them on the guest list. But every time I do that, there's always somebody else that I find that could be a potential valuable partner as well.
It's funny because the networking events that I always find to be the most beneficial for myself are the ones where I don't want to go and I have to force myself to go. And I'm like, "Oh, I'm tired. I don't want to go. I don't want to be social." You have a million reasons. I have a headache. It's too sunny outside. you
Too
know,
rainy outside. We can come up with some really, really, really great excuses, but we just have to have some kind of purpose that's greater than all of our obstacles in our path. And, that's, the fear of missing out on that one person that could either be, the next great, referral partner, center of influence, client. It's usually what gets me to put the heels on and the coat on and get out the door. But we all have those moments where it's like, oh, I don't want to do this. Um, and I've said to myself at those networking, I use the same philosophy that I do with being active and working out. Do it for a couple minutes. If you hate it, give yourself permission to go home. And rarely, rarely do I leave an event after like 15 minutes and say, I don't want to be here. I usually am talking to somebody and engaging in some, interesting conversation that makes me want to stay. Or, at the last event I went to, I had somebody grab me that I hadn't seen in forever. She just got back from England and was like, you need to meet this person. And it's like, if I had stayed in that morning, I would have missed out on that. So,
yes. No, last night I actually went to a paint or a sip and pour networking event and it was just so fun and it was exactly what I needed to just like get out, do something creative, do something like sensory driven, but also be in community and build relationships. And a lot of the people at that specific event I already knew, but it was fun to just build relationships that were different, that it wasn't just the initial, let's exchange business cards and talk later. It was like, let's do something fun together. Let's do something that feels like friendship because we trust our friends. We know, like, and trust our friends. And when sometimes building those relationships just means doing something that doesn't feel so structured, doing
yes,
something that can make you laugh and have fun, taking your client somewhere that is fun, and just having an experience that's enjoyable for both of you.
absolutely. Getting to know them on a personal level, beyond the business, what do they like? What do they enjoy? What's, their family, learning, different things about them. It's what makes it fun and interesting.
Thank you so much, Heather, for sharing your journey and your leadership insights. It's been a pleasure hearing about your experiences and the lessons you've learned along the way. And for viewers, if you've enjoyed hearing Heather insights today, don't miss other Break the Norm leadership interviews. If your organization is interested in learning how Break the Norm leadership can help you in your developmental needs, please reach out by clicking the link below. Thanks, everyone. Thanks, Heather.
Thank you so much for having me. It's been a pleasure.